Today is January 30th, 2017, and last week was a pretty tense week for many people in the United States. President Trump just finished the first full week of his presidency, and the reality is that there is some serious tension out there. But not only that, there is a pretty high amount of misinformation being spread, and from all sides and angles. So for this week's Monday warm-up, I want to issue a word of caution and discuss the importance of being careful of who it is you're listening to and why it's so important to actively question the value of your information sources. Before we begin, if this is your first time to the channel, then each Monday I offer a quick word or thought on how we can position our mindset to start and continue the week off on the right foot. So if you find this valuable today, I would encourage you to subscribe to the channel and let others know as well. Okay, so let me begin by saying that my default mode tends to be one of little emotion and a lot of skepticism. But let me clarify what I mean by that. My emotions tend to stay pretty steady on most days, and there's not much that people can say or do that will get an immediate emotional rise out of me. Now, that's not to say that it doesn't happen, because it does. And also, it's not something that has always been that way. When I was younger, I was pretty hot-headed and was extremely quick to have an emotional response. What served as a big reason for the change in me was the process of learning more and more about myself through my educational pursuits. As I completed my master's and was going through my PhD, I was learning more and more about the value of asking questions and was always seeking accurate and evidence-based information and insight, which is where my skepticism comes from. The skeptic in me tends to ask a lot of questions, especially when it comes to challenging the validity or reliability of sources of information. With social media and the technological capabilities to rapidly release and deliver real-time information these days, many people make quick conclusions about things that they're not actually fully informed about. And if we don't have the full breadth of information available to us, then we shouldn't be making these final conclusions. Many people rely on their emotional bias to guide their beliefs and decision-making process, and that's just not the healthy or best way of going about receiving and accepting information. But yet that's exactly what we see many people doing, and it's something that we see people being guilty of even at the highest positions or levels of every industry, whether it be media, entertainment, the government, or even academia. So what are we supposed to think or do if these are the types of actions and behaviors that we see almost everywhere we look, and with the people that have the most influence over others, over us? Well, one recommendation would be to pause and take a moment and not let our first response or reaction be an emotional one. Emotion is part of the human experience, and it's not something that we should be desiring to remove, but it is something that can be extremely problematic whenever we are making conclusions, making decisions about things through the filter of an emotional response. When the first thing that we do after someone says or does something is have an emotional response and then act out of that response, then I can say with a pretty high amount of certainty that we're not going to have as good or healthy of a response as we could if we were to keep our emotional response in check and sincerely measure the quality and accuracy of what is being done or said. For myself, anytime someone is saying something with a healthy dose of emotion, I almost always immediately pause my own response. And why? Because the way that a person delivers a message has a lot to say about the message itself. The reason people deliver messages filled with emotion is because they sincerely believe it. They believe it in their bones. And oftentimes it's because of how passionate someone is about what it is that they believe that can cause someone else to either immediately accept or reject what the person is saying. And what do you think is the main reason why someone would either accept or reject what the other person is saying? because for them, they either immediately agree or disagree with what the person is saying. And that agreement comes from a belief system, and that belief system is tied to the emotional response. If you were to begin to challenge the merits of what someone is saying by asking them to provide actionable evidence of their position, you will oftentimes find people pointing to things that are either in line with their beliefs, something that is called confirmation bias, or is just something that they believe in their gut. An example of that is when you ask somebody, hey, why do you believe this? And their answer is, because I just believe it. That should issue an immediate pause, immediate skepticism. And the same is true when they present information that's filtered through an emotional or idealistic bias. And to be clear, almost any editorial or opinion-based article or resource is going to be filtered through those kinds of biases. Now, what does all of this have to do with Mondays and starting the week off right? Well, the short answer is, because the manner in which we respond to others and what they say or do has a lot to do with the quality of our days and weeks. When our attitude and emotions fluctuate according to what's happening around us or what other people are saying or doing, then we tend to have more fluctuation in our thoughts, emotions, and behavior. And to put it simply, that's unhealthy. So in order to start and keep a healthy and positive mindset on Mondays, we need to condition the way we receive information and how we interact with others, especially when it's those that we might not agree or align with from a belief-based standpoint. So my challenge to you today and this week, no matter when you're watching this, is to take inventory over your response to others and actively choose to pay attention to your response. Here's the metric. Here's the way that you do this. When you feel the emotion rising within you, pay attention to that and ask yourself, why am I responding like this? Is this the way I want or should respond? And if not, what should I do different? Or how important or valid is this response to what the other person is actually saying or doing? Those are all good questions to start with. Again, choose to pay attention, measure your response, and determine whether or not you should continue responding in that manner. Also, the big takeaway today is to respectfully challenge the validity of what someone is saying. How factual is it? You should be actively questioning the things that people say. Not necessarily to their face, and definitely not in a combative way, because that would only contribute to the problem. Instead, remember that a goal that we should have is to only make conclusions and decisions when we are well or fully informed about something. Unless, of course, you have to make an immediate decision, and then all you can do is rely on the insight you already have or go with your gut feeling. If you go with your gut, though, make sure and check that response later. Okay, so you have some things to think about. I would love to hear what you think about this in the comments below. Let's get a conversation started about how we receive information and respond to others. If you found this video today helpful or interesting, then please like the video down below and share it with your friends and classmates, as that will help this channel grow and influence others in a positive way. Learn, develop, grow. That's the culture of learning at Think It Clear. Again, I do this each Monday, so make sure and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And then go check out the growing library of resources that we have available at thinkitclear.com by clicking on that link right there. I'm Dr. Jason Wright, and I'll see you next Monday.